Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to talk about the top 10 sideboard cards you should consider for March 2021. We're kind of like in an in-between format between Set 12 and Evolution Booster, and we're even getting a lot of Set 13 reveals. Not going to talk so much about Set 13 because we do have a little bit of a ways before that comes out. We're going to pretty much talk about the Set 12 and Evolution Booster meta because, again, I know a lot of other countries are in Evo Booster meta right now. US, we're still playing catch-up. We're not technically in that meta until the end of March, but still worth preparing for. We'll talk about it in today's video. Guys, if you're new here, definitely subscribe, hit that bell so you miss a video. If you guys want to help support the channel, there are many ways down in the description to do so, particularly today. If you want to buy any of the cards you see in today's video, use my link in the description to TCG Player. It really does help the channel out a lot. That being said, let's get started. First card, Koitsukai, Mechanical Courage. This one's a little bit unfortunate because it is on the pricier end of side deck cards, but honestly, it's just so good right now. One thing I'll mention before we kind of move on with this card, I'm going to keep this as generic as possible, as I usually do. Once we get towards the end, there will be a few cards that are really just for specific colors, but I will keep this guide as generic as possible, so no matter what deck you're playing, you can side deck most of the cards we're talking about today. Koitsukai is a great card in that regard. Again, yes, it is on the pricier side, but why is it so good? We're seeing this return of arrival-based strategies. Arrival-based strategies, a lot of the times, play battle cards during the opponent's turn, right? Koitsukai shuts that down as long as the battle cards are 20k or less power. What's interesting to note is, if you guys have been following the channel or any of the recent tournament news, King Piccolo actually won PPG Miami. Shout out Justin Rios. He actually said in his deck profile that Koitsukai is much more of a harm to King Piccolo than Kami Global Unifier is. And you would think that might be a little bit counterintuitive because Kami is an entire board wipe. Get rid of everything on King Piccolo's board, even ignoring barriers, so you even hit those stubborn barrier blocker drums. But Koitsukai, just on the turn that King Piccolo needs to defend, they can't play in their battle cards, or they're going to sacrifice too many cards in hand, as where Kami, much more of an energy expensive investment, and King Piccolo realistically can repopulate a board kind of easily, right? So there's just that kind of issue with it. Koitsukai, much better of a card, and again, it hits a lot of matchups. It hits blue-yellow Gohan, for instance. It hits blue-yellow Mecha Frieza. Even mono-yellow Mecha Frieza, they can't even U9 assemble into a battle card if it's not their own turn. Koitsukai shuts that down. Can't really be interacted with unless you have some very rare drop area disruption, but even then, the opponent can get this into the drop area the turn they want to use it, so it's not going to be very likely you can hit it out of their drop. Yeah, Koitsukai is going to be one of the top cards you should consider sideboarding for the rest of this format, and even moving into Evo Booster because a lot of arrival-based decks are getting support in that set, right? So Koitsukai just makes even more sense going forward. Then we got the My King's Piccolo Underling. This pretty much represents all of the Draft Box 6 silver bullets. Blue is not the most popular by any means. In terms of deck popularity, we're going with black, red, and yellow being the most popular. Blue has one key spot in the meta, that's Blue Baby. Blue Baby is kind of gaining ground and gaining popularity. And then green, unfortunately, nowhere to really be found. But you're going to want this card if your deck struggles against Blue Baby. And again, while blue is not overly popular, Blue Baby is a really, really hardcore control deck that a lot of decks have trouble winning the game through, right? Like Blue Baby, one of the things it can do is it can stall forever, and it can't really win until like turn 6, 7, or 8 in a lot of cases. But if you're just not able to push through their floodgates and their defenses, you're not going to be able to win before that, and then it gets their end game turn, and then you kind of just lose from there. These silver bullets do hurt Blue Baby a decent amount, hits both their Dimension Magics and their Revenge Big Bang attacks. A lot of times Blue Baby will want to Sparking the Dimension Magic after they tapped out for maybe a Unison or something of that nature. Stopping them from doing that is really solid, and the Revenge Big Bang attack just provides the deck with so much value, ups them energy on defense, and replaces itself. Yeah, you're gonna probably want these DB6 silver bullets for a blue deck like that. Yeah, I said it many times, I wish these cards didn't exist, but honestly, Blue Baby's super annoying to play against, so I guess it's a decent thing these cards are out there if you need help pushing through Blue Baby's defenses. Max Power Kamehameha. This is a card that was in every single deck pretty much when blue was more popular. Look back at like Soul Striker meta back in like early or late set 10, I guess. But Max Power is a card that is probably more suitable in the sideboard now. I don't really think a lot of decks can get away with maining it, but there are a lot of scenarios in which you're going to want Max Power at your disposal. For instance, Demigra, True Demon God, that card disrupts a lot of blue, green, and yellow decks. Basically, if you're playing a mid-range / control deck and your opponent's playing black and they stick Demigra to the field, if they just get to attack with that turn after turn after turn, you're going to be losing so many cards that the black deck is probably just going to wear you out of resources to beat you. Max Power is a great card in those mid-range and control decks to answer a card like Demon God Demigod. But there's a lot of decks in the format that spam really big battle cards. You have Dark Broly, you have Red Broly on the niche scenarios you play against it, Green Gotenks. A lot of these decks are cheating in battle cards much bigger than energy cost. Max Power is going to be a card you want in your back pocket many times rather than not. Then we got Bardock Fully Unleashed. So I think the majority of people will side deck Secret Identity Mass Sand, which, spoiler, is the next card we'll talk about. But Bardock Fully Unleashed is definitely worth taking a look at, especially as we move into Evolution Booster. So in the current format, hitting Dark Broly with this card is going to be one of the bigger things you're going to want to keep an eye out for. But even then, you also have usage for this card against like Shin Shenron, right? Playing this, if they have multiple 9-drops on board, just wipe them all. Doesn't matter that they negate skills, because this guy, once he's played, he still gets his enter play auto. And yeah, sure, 25k Single Striker, still a really big attack, especially after you just wiped all their big blockers. And then they also have the new 8-drop as well. So if that thing doesn't have the barrier blocker copied effect, you're able to wipe that also. But also moving into Evolution Booster, a lot of these decks like Android 13 and Android 16 and Android 21, they're playing larger arrivals and successor depending on which deck you're playing against. So being able to play this against those strategies is also going to do well, because you're going to be able to wipe their bigger battle cards that don't have barriers. So definitely a solid card to consider for sure in the sideboard. Then we got Secret ID. Again, we did kind of just mention it. This is much more of like the go-to Overrealm. That can change once again with Evo Booster, because there are a lot more big battle cards being cheated into play in Evo Booster. But Secret ID is probably just a safer bet. I know a lot of decks main one copy and side another copy. I think that's a really good strategy. For instance, I did that in my Blue Yellow Gohan build. I know a lot of Mecha players do the same thing. They main one Secret ID, side another copy. Card's just really good. It's good against Mecha Frieza when they have a bunch of boards of like Chapils, Basils, all that good stuff. It's really good against King Piccolo. You basically take out 2 3-drops for one card, get a big attack through. Yeah, they might get the Violent Raise, but they basically paid 2 cards and already lost 2 more previously. And all you've done is play a big guy for free that really only costs you 1 card from hand. So you haven't done anything with your energy yet. You still have time to do other things with your turn. It's a really great trade-off in that regard. Secret ID, definitely safer. And if you're going to be playing against Nappa coming out of Evolution Booster, Secret ID is definitely a card you want in your side deck. They're going to spam a ton of 1-drop blockers and a 1-drop Cyberman. You're going to be able to want to clear those, relatively easily with Secret Identity Mass Sand. Next up, we got Mikabor, the Broken Seal. No surprise here, we always mention this card in the side decking videos. It's one of the top cards you can possibly side deck. There are just so many strategies that Mikabor Broken Seal shuts down. Dark Broly, depending on the situation with Dark Broly, actually, this has changed just a little bit. You don't play Mikabor anymore, and you don't just automatically call Dark Broly 6. What you do is, you have to determine whether your opponent can awaken on that next turn, and if they can, you actually might want to call Dark Broly 7, so they can't play a 7-drop, crit one of your lives, and then go into Heartfelt Plea. You kind of got to read the scenario there. Mikabor doesn't actually shut down Dark Broly as easily as it did, but it can still be very good if you use it in the right scenarios. Again, on their awakened turn, call Dark Broly 7. They can't crit one of your life. They can't go into Heartfelt Plea. Sure, they can still play 6-drops, but realistically on like turn 3, maybe turn 2, how many 6-drops can they play? At most 2. So you're probably going to be at a higher life total in that regard. If they play 2 30Ks, who cares? Take it, go to 5, go to 4, whatever the life total is. But this is much better in that scenario to call the 7-drop, not let them go into Heartfelt Plea. But if they're at 7 life, they have absolutely no chance of awakening, yeah, call Dark Broly 6. But still, other decks in the format Mikabor is great against. Invoker, you can call out the win condition. You got to kind of read if they're going to burn you or victory strike you. Depending on what deck you're playing, they might not have the option to do one or the other. Like if you're playing a quick self-awakening deck, Invoker can't really effectively victory strike you. You just have too much combo power and too much hand size. So with that in mind, you'll want to Mikabora and, call Goku 3 so they can't Rival Seeker. Maybe Goku 6 if they're actually on 6 energy. Again, you got to kind of read the scenario. But Mikabora, so many good applications in the current format. Then we got Unexpected Turn. This card has always been iffy for me because, sometimes your opponent doesn't have the correct board state for this to be live, but in this meta, it seems like every single deck goes wide. Some decks even go tall and wide, which honestly is pretty rough, but it almost seems like every single deck does turn on an Unexpected Turn, so I think there's a lot of good value in it coming out of the sideboard as a board wipe. Again, can be great against King Piccolo, especially the fact that it doesn't warp 2 or less after the fact you've activated it, but it does hit things like their pianos and any other 1-drop like King Piccolo's they might have on the board, as well as negating the play of whatever you hit with Unexpected Turn. Can be great against Red Broly as well. One of the things I didn't love about it with Red Broly is Red Broly can play around Unexpected Turn, But if they do that, they have to play very, very suboptimally, and that means like comboing their Bob blockers off the field or using their Bob blockers, you know, far earlier than they kind of want to, right? So if you just present the threat of an unexpected turn, you probably have to at least use it once in the game. But if you do use it once in the game, they're probably going to play very, very scared of it, and then as a result, play very suboptimally. So unexpected turn seems quite good. Then we got Food Arc Banisher. This is a great top end for a lot of decks, especially because, again, the top decks right now, black and red. This is not going to be the best against yellow because, you know, like Mecha can Cold Bloodlust it if they have it. They can also, like, I don't know, time magic it or just put it in rest mode. And even if they do that, and even if red Violent Raise on this attack, right? If they do all that, they're still going to be paying for other effects throughout the rest of your turn. Like, let's just say Mecha Frieza Giant Balls this. Okay, that's pretty unfortunate. But if you have an established board, any negate or super combo or anything they decide to do after that, they're gonna have to pay cards for, which actually could put you in a winning position. You might not win the turn you play this card, but it could actually put you in a very, very winning position. Same thing against red. They Violent Raise you. If you have a board with some 19Ks and 15Ks, your leader swing, unison swing, all that good jazz, if you're able to get those swings through, your opponent's then paying for blocking, paying for super combos, things of that nature that can be very beneficial. So Food Arc Banisher, it's also very good against Dark Broly as well. Any black deck really, as long as you could make it to that point in the game. So definitely a card you'll want to consider for sure. Then we got some less specific cards. Kaioken, Goku, Concentrated Destruction. Red is one of the most popular decks in the meta right now. Odds are, if you're watching this video, you're probably playing a red deck. There's so many good top tier red decks. King Piccolo, Red Broly, Launch, even Bulma's up there. Lots of really good red decks. Kaioken is great for answering barrier threats, particularly against Invoker, answering their Vegeta, and against Blue/Blue Yellow, answering Violent Rush Bojack. This is a card you'll definitely want. Yes, it is on the pricier side once again. It is getting reprinted in that Master Collection set. I honestly have no idea what that will cost because it almost seems like that set is also hard to obtain because I think it was made to order. So if you didn't order your copies of this card from the Master Collection set, might be a little bit tough to get it, but I'm sure down the road they will reprint this card, and it'll probably be a staple in red for a very, very long time. So even if you pick it up now for a high price, I wouldn't feel too bad about it. Then we got Mikabor Plotting Revival. If you're in yellow, like Mecha Frieza, like Kid Gohan, or even Android 13 coming out of Evo Booster, I would recommend trying to side Mikabor Plotting Revival. It's weird because even Sin Shenron decks aren't maining this card anymore. The format can be a bit too fast for this to be super relevant. And if you're playing aggro Sin, you don't need this card in any regard, so that makes perfect sense. But I think this card is so good in yellow when you're playing against the mid-range decks, like Blue Yellow Gohan, for instance, like King Piccolo. There's some of these slower control decks, even the Arabo decks coming out of Evo Booster, like 21, 16, 13. I think Mikabor can put in a lot of work. You're pretty safe to tap 4 for it, especially if you're like playing Blue Yellow Gohan or Blue Yellow Mecha. You can untap when they attack your leader or a battle card or things of that nature. I think Mikabor can provide a lot of value coming out of the sideboard if you're in yellow. But anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope it's helped you out. If you have a comment down below, leave it there. Let us know any other cards you're sideboarding for this format. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.